The Bucks are NBA champions. The Phillies are back down to 500, and Ben Simmons is still a Sixer. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the More Than Philly Sports Network. It's great to be here with everybody today, the 22nd of July in 2021, 11:02 a.m. here on the East Coast. As always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. We have quite an exciting show to get through today. We have a lot to cover, a lot of big news out there, a lot of bold takes, a lot to break down in honestly every sport. I think all four major sports we have to cover today. The Flyers, of course, the Seattle Kraken taking one of their young prospects in the expansion draft. How we feel about that, possibly get a guest on later in the week or next week to talk about that with the hockey season beginning to turn around. Free agency coming up very close in the NBA. But before that, the recap of the 2020-2021 season. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Phillies. Why I'm still not worried, why everybody's still got to relax. Everything's going to be okay. But before any of that, Gavin, welcome back. How you doing today?
Doing great, Zach. I had a long day yesterday. I didn't even know it was rain. But Zach, I want to share something really funny. And this, this is a fail on my end. Someone that likes geography and likes looking at a map. I actually thought Milwaukee was in Illinois. I don't know why, ladies and gentlemen. Then I looked at it yesterday and said Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm 18. I should know better. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. I know we got a lot to break down. I keep saying it because, well, we do. We're getting closer to everything right now. It's before you know it, it's going to be training camp, and training camp turns into preseason, and we're going to a preseason game, by the way, Gavin. I think you know that already, and then that turns into the regular season for the NFL. So the NFL is coming up quickly. The MLB dog days are slowly coming upon us. We're entering this final leg of the summer. Look, it's been a great summer so far. Honestly, it's been extremely fast. I don't know where it went, but for everybody out there, enjoy it. Let's slow down a little bit, and let's just sit back, relax, and do what we do best, which is talk about sports. Let's kick it off then, Gavin. Are you ready to get started today?
Always.
All right, let's do it. Starting off today, the Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday night. The Milwaukee Bucks holding a lead most of the way. Phoenix Suns coming back a little bit, but unfortunately not enough. Giannis going 16 of 17 from the free throw line, missing just in that number. A great night for him at the line, a great night altogether for the team. A 50-piece laid down on the Suns. Winning that game, Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton doing their part as well. Coach Bud is an NBA champion. Giannis is an NBA champion. Jrue Holiday, former Sixer, is an NBA champion. Chris Middleton, the guy who this guy made fun of a day in and day out last year, rightfully so. He did not play well last year, but he stepped up this year big. The entire team has something to do. They won an NBA title. And I'm going to say this is the last time for a long time you're going to see a team that is not a super team per se winning an NBA title. But I'll talk about that later. Let's enjoy this moment. Let's enjoy a small market team winning the NBA Finals. Let's enjoy everybody on that team got their first ever ring. PJ Tucker on that team, Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez, Dante DiVincenzo, former Villanova guy. I know he got hurt before this series, but of course won the ring as well. Pat Connaughton has really been a dog for them in this series. And of course Giannis, who him and Thanasis joined their younger brother, I believe, from the LA Lakers to win an NBA title as well. All three of them now have rings. Obviously Giannis playing a much more important role in his title than the other two, but, rings are rings, so no disrespect to the rest of them. Chris Paul, again, falling short in what most likely will be a career without an NBA title. So, Gavin, I'm going to hand it off to you. I just gave a lot of information there. The Milwaukee Bucks winning the 2020-2021 NBA Finals.
Well, Zach, when you talk about NBA Finals, this was one of the best finals we had in a long time. And I mean by that, Zach, let's pump the brakes for a second. We get it. There's a lot of great other NBA Finals, whether it was LeBron James, the block, and a 3-1. Zach, I could never live that one down. Whether it was Toronto and Kawhi Leonard and winning the ring, whether it was Dallas Mavericks, whether one of those teams. But this one has a different ring to it. Why? These are two teams that drafted every player, brought a couple players along. Look at it. The Bucks drafted Chris Middleton, and Giannis. The Suns drafted Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. There was talks about Devin Booker leaving and DeAndre Ayton, who, Zach, I gave a lot of praise earlier early in the playoff run. I said he looks like a top 5 center in the league. Zach, I couldn't find him. Okay, he's 7 foot, 6'11", whatever he is. He wasn't there. Physically, he was, maybe. I don't know. He only got 6 rebounds the other night. But another thing, too, is this. When you have two teams that drafted and added I want to say major pieces. They're not over the top superstars. They're not a Kevin Durant. They're not a Kawhi Leonard. They're not a LeBron James. But they're all stars. Chris Paul is a declining all star. I mean, the age, Zach. I mean, you hate to say it, but it's the truth. And Drew Holiday is a guy that's a Rough Rider all star that doesn't get enough recognition he deserves. One of the best two-way players in the game. But the reason why I made this final sweet, Zach, is there was no super team. They drafted, they developed, they processed, they added a few pieces here and there, and voila, this is what we got. Another thing too is that your star and Giannis Antetokounmpo, your superstar, didn't leave to go join somewhere else. He stayed. He knew what it took. He knew what he wanted to do, which was win. He was loyal to the fan base and the city that drafted him and gave him the chance, the opportunity to be him. He grew into a monster attack. He came into the league weighing, I want to say 210, and now he weighs around 230, 240, and put a lot of muscle. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not fat, that's muscle. And he grew into his own. He's a dominant player. One of the best power forwards in the game today, Zach, I'll come out and say he is the best player in the game as of right now. No Kevin Durant, no LeBron James, no nobody. That's the man to beat right now. He's dominant. Zach, in the finals, he had what? 4 multiple 40-point games, 3. And this is coming off injuring his knee 2 weeks ago. It felt like it may have been a little bit past 2 weeks ago. It's like the certainty of Giannis' help was not one thing. And another thing too, Zach, before I hand it off, is he got production from his Robin, and then Alfred. Robin being Chris Middleton, Alfred being Drew Holiday. For those who aren't Batman, just take it how you want. They're all heroes. Chris Middleton, and I saw a stat, he has the most clutch shots, and I think that's passing Michael Jordan with either 13 or 14 in a whole playoff run. That's crazy. For a guy who was being criticized by me, ladies and gentlemen, I won't deny it. I was criticizing Chris Middleton, and Zach, you're my witness. Every time we talk about Chris Middleton, what was the first thing I said? Not an all-star, not enough, needs to do better. He gets paid like an all-star. He showed it last night. He showed this whole entire playoff run. He showed it when they needed him the most. Zach, the Milwaukee Bucks are champions of 3 reasons. Drafted, developed, and they played well together. Well coached, you're going to add that in there as well. But there's one major thing I want to point out, and then I'm going to hand it to you. There's a happy side and there's a sad side. The happy side is that Giannis finally got a ring at the age of 26, and Zach, I mean, he's a 5-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year, multiple MVPs, NBA Finals champion, Most Improved Player, couple All-Teams. I mean, Zach, I can go on and on. At the age of 26, I know a couple of days ago we talked about, can Giannis enter the GOAT debate? I don't think so, not yet, because those guys have numerous championships underneath their belt. I mean, finals appearances and a couple other things too. But he's not. You can't ignore him. You sure can't ignore him. He's not on the doorstep. But the sad part about this NBA Finals is there's a man named Chris Paul, Zach, not Cliff Paul, Chris Paul, who lost. And that was it. And he's gonna join the names of Charles Barkley, of Allen Iverson. You know, the list goes on, of people to never win a championship. Let that sink in for a second. A guy who is well respected, who's a great leader, one of the greatest leaders in the NBA, won't be a champion. And Zach, I think without him having a championship, he's not a top 5 point guard in the game in all time. I think he'll go down as top 10 because, like I said, everything else. But top 5, that's not happening unless he wins one next year.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll leave it on this note, or at least I'll begin a new note. You think about a team like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Philadelphia 76ers as currently rostered, the Phoenix Suns, the Utah Jazz, the Denver Nuggets, all pretty good teams. The Atlanta Hawks I could throw in there as well. They're all good teams. They're all respected. But the next 3 years are about to be gruesome for small market teams and teams that don't have superstar talent. And that's because of the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, the Brooklyn Nets. And I mean, those are the 3 teams right there that are going to ruin the next 3 years of the NBA.
Golden State can come back too, Zach.
Golden State possibly as well. And people tell me I'm crazy when I say this, but this was a year for a team like Philly to win. This was a year for a team like Utah to win. This was a year for a team like Phoenix to win. It was a year like for Milwaukee to win, which they did. But it's not going to happen again. because you're not beating Kevin Durant, James Harden, and either Kyrie Irving, or if they make a move to trade and get something else for him in return. We know that the Nets are winning the East next year. There's no doubt about it. So with that being said, talk about the Western Conference. LeBron James is healthy next year. All right. And you have a couple other players there that are going to be able to produce. And the Clippers as well. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard will be healthy. The next 3 years are ruined in the NBA because these teams are going to go on to win. Cleveland and Golden State ruined the NBA for 4 years. It gave us some fun stories. It gave us some good storylines. But small market teams that, simply put, are not going to be able to produce and compete. If Brooklyn's healthy next year, Milwaukee has no business beating them. We all know that for sure. And talk about the LAs and talk about arguably Golden State. And that's it. That's all I have to say on that. The next 3 years are ruined in the NBA. Small market teams aren't going to have a chance. And that just sucks for Philly too, because there's no way the Sixers can hold next year with either the Bucks or the Nets. I think the next year is for the Nets to win. If Damian Lillard finds a way to get to the East, whatever team he goes on, obviously will become an instant contender. I'd love it for it to be Philadelphia and trade Ben Simmons, get him out of here. But as of right now, at this moment, on both sides of the NBA, it's going to be really hard for some teams to be able to go out there and win.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into my point, I just want to. The reason why I'm laughing is that Zach just got flamed in the comment section. Zach, can we put that up there real quick? I just got the people need to know. I don't think this is true, ladies and gentlemen. I think he's been up for. A minute now. Zach, I don't disagree with you. The NBA was ruined.
For the record, it's my gel. It just kind of gets messed up.
It looks fine. It looks fine. I don't know what the comments talk about. That was a good one though.
Thank you.
But I will say this, Zach. You're not wrong. The NBA was ruined by super teams. They did give us a great storyline. Golden State, Zach. 3-1, and Kevin Durant joins, and the rest is history from there. Small market teams. This was your year. Milwaukee, Philadelphia, the list goes on. Miami. Zach. We all know the small market team business. This was our year. But the Lakers are going to get healthy, and they are going to revamp. They are going to – Zach, there talks about getting Russell Westbrook or Chris Paul, which I really do see Chris Paul actually going there instead, which will hurt because I don't want him to go be that guy and go join another team because he doesn't really need to. I think he can't do it without, but if he wants to win, I guess –
The current Suns roster is not winning the NBA championship.
They're not. No, this was a year to do it. But, Zach – It just felt good seeing something different for once. And you got teams like Philadelphia that stays knocking on a door. I don't know what door they're knocking on. It's like they can't get out of the second round. You got Boston, Zach. I don't know what shape or form Boston's going to be, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're still there. Jamal Murray will be back this year. We don't know where Damian Lillard ends up. I think, Zach, I think he will be an Eastern Conference player. I think it will be between the Sixers or the New York Knicks, in all honesty. And we got to see what the Brooklyn Big Three does. Like, injuries played a big role in this year's playoffs, going with Anthony Davis to LeBron James to James Harden to Kyrie Irving, ultimately just knocking everybody out down the line. Joel Embiid missed some time, Kawhi Leonard. For this to happen, and this is the finals we got, this is not terrible. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are the Phoenix Suns, you have to look back and realize Chris Paul is a $44 million player option. At the age of, 36, 37?
36 years old.
I'm not paying someone that old $44 million. Now, if he wanted to do this, Zach, which was break that deal, become free agent, come back on a cheaper deal, and then go and get somebody else, get some more pieces to help you maybe run it back, that's a different story. But Chris Paul is not a person that is all about, almost he's all about his money, but he's not going to come back on a dummy deal. It's like if you're talking about a year to do no super teams or anything, you're right. And the next 3 years are going to be tough. Brooklyn is locked in for another 2 years with their stars. The Lakers re-signed Anthony Davis last year, and LeBron James ultimately had a contract extension. Most likely Kawhi Leonard is going to return, and that means Paul George is going to continue to improve. Vaccinated, Pete. Zach. And finally, Denver Nuggets, they're here. Luka Doncic is here. They haven't won yet, but they're coming. They're here. You can't ignore them. On the East side.
You can't ignore them. They're going to get some trouble, but they're not going to be able to hang with every team.
Oh, no, of course not. They're not going to.
Now, if Dallas can go make a strong move for a good 5 or something, maybe Karl Anthony Towns or try to get someone else that they can help with. I don't know. There's a good chance that could be some potential there because we know that the unicorn's not going to be enough to be able to get the job done as Luka's role player.
was like also too when you got guys like Luka Doncic, we seen what they could display. We know what Luka can bring to the table. We seen it. We know what guys like Trae Young can bring to the table. Trae Young just had a nice, luckier path, and the rule change next year might make him struggle a little bit more. But in all honesty, Zach, the two teams that are in the final, I only see one team getting a chance to come back, and that's the Bucks. The Suns, I'm not too sure about yet. I mean, look at their road to the finals. An injured Lakers team, you demolish, and I mean demolish the Denver Nuggets
without Jamal Murray.
And then you ran over the Clippers. Not even really ran them over. You kind of
they gave him trouble 6 games.
I know by any shape or form I'm discrediting the Suns' road, but it's like all those guys that we named, except for Kawhi Leonard, will be back next year. Kawhi Leonard will be back later years. Like I'm actually interested to see. I do think the Suns need to make a move, but all in all, it's like this is a pretty good year, regardless of everything that happened. COVID, injuries, everything. It was just a good year.
Yeah, it was. I think the players are looking forward to as regular of an offseason as they've had in quite some years. Pretty regular summer. September is going to get underway with the preseason and training camp. I think they're going to be happy to have this little break now for the next few months. So I think the NBA is going to be able to finally reset, get back to an 82-game season. We'll see what happens. My final question here before we move on to the Philadelphia Phillies is Chris Paul. What's going to happen with him, Gavin? You said he does have a player option. He'll likely decline that, giving him the opportunity to go into unrestricted free agency. So what's going to happen?
It's going to be one of those situations, Zach, where it's decline and resign or decline and go ring chase. That's one of two things I see. And there's just only, you talked about the Clippers, Zach. If he's going anywhere, it would be to the Lakers, and it will go join up with LeBron James and go get a ring that way. I like that. I mean, it would be nice to see him back in the Clippers uniform, especially with Paul George and everybody else they have there. But it's one of those sign and decline and resign or decline and chase. That's all I see.
Quite possible. I don't see a problem with it at this point in his career if he wants to go get himself a title where he doesn't have to do all the work himself. It's just to add to the resume at this point. He's done a lot in his career. He's done a lot of great work, but he's come up short, when they need him the most last few games. Devin Booker, for the most part, has been the one carrying Booker who struggled the other night. But Chris Paul, 26 points, 21 in the last 2 games. Pretty efficient shooting, but only 10 points in the game before that on 5 of 13 shooting. And the one game before that, which is game 3, had 19. So he was averaging in the mid to high 20s in this series, which is pretty damn decent. I just think for guys like you said, DeAndre Ayton and some of the role players, they kind of dissipate at this point. And that's why it always has been and it always will be a superstar-driven league. That's why my bet is on the Nets and the Lakers next year to meet in the NBA Finals. Gavin, anything else you want to say before we get on to baseball?
Zach, for a team that didn't get starstruck, and I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns, for a team that didn't get starstruck, that answer to the moment, time in and time out, this is the first time after the 2-0 win when they go to Milwaukee and the moment got bright. Zach, they did not win another game in the rest of the series. You win the first 2 at home and lose the next 4. The moment got bright for guys like Devin Booker, Cameron Payne, Cameron Johnson, Frank Kaminsky. And remember, you lose Dario Saric early in the series. That was another big loss, a former Sixer. Zach, and DeAndre Ayton, and Jay Crowder, you got to fix this lineup. There's nothing wrong with the 2 young guys and Booker and Ayton, but there's got to be more. There's got to be more.
That there is, and we're going to see how it rolls out. As always, the summer of free agency, a real free agency this summer for real, not an abbreviated autumn like last year. Coming up after this, the MLB Power Rankings. Who sits at the top? Can anyone top that team? Where do the Phillies sit? And at 500, should they be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? Stay tuned. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome back. Before we do get to the Philadelphia Phillies, let's talk about the MLB as a whole. We have our first 60-win mark for a team 95 games into the season, and that is the number 1 San Francisco Giants. Any surprises there, Gavin? Number 1 team, number 1 record?
Well, it's like that's the best division in baseball, but how is the best division in baseball being ran by a team that wasn't supposed to be that good? I mean, Zach, there wasn't supposed to be bottom tier, but they weren't supposed to be the cream of the crop. I mean, it just hurts. It hurts to see that. It's good for baseball because, I mean, the powerhouse teams, the Dodgers and Padres who loaded up this offseason, I know that the Trevor Bauer situation in LA is not really helping their case out. But to see a team that's once again, it's like I'm going to call them the Brooklyn Nets from a couple years ago. The Giants are they have a lot of players that play well together, and they have a manager, which was our former manager, who can actually manage the guys. They listen to him, and they're playing great baseball. But this is not a team that's going to hold their positions. Like, I actually see them sliding off in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see again. 60-35 through 95 games, almost a 750 win percentage. So number 2 on this list, falling from number 1 to 2, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Gavin had mentioned, of course, Trevor Bauer, some issues with him, but the rest of the team still seems to be working out pretty well together. Los Angeles Dodgers at 2. The Houston Astros at 3 at 58-39. Gavin, the Astros are on their redemption tour. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Best ranked team in the American League.
It's one of those things, Zach, where you look at the guys and like Altuve, you think of Bregman, you think of Brantley, and George Springer, who was formerly there. It's hard to like these guys. It's hard to appreciate what they're doing because like that cheating scandal was big. And my major problem with the cheating scandal was that, real quick, it wasn't the fact that they were cheating. Besides that, it was the fact that when a pitcher that may not be, the best of the best, right? You're cheating against a guy that barely has a roster spot, and you're going to cheat off him, make his ERA inflame. Next thing you know, he's back in the minors. Like, that's my problem. And it gets so hard to make it to the majors. That's why my problem with the Astros cheating scandal. It wasn't the fact that they won. It wasn't the fact that Altuve stole an MVP trophy from Aaron Judge, who hit 52 home runs that year. It was just the fact of the matter is the damage being done to the others. That's always going to be it.
Yes, and the long-term consequences we'll see. I'll breeze through some of these other ones for Chicago White Sox. Moving up from 6, the Boston Red Sox jump back a spot. Tampa Bay Rays at 6. San Diego Padres at 7, 56-42. Somehow not good enough for first place in that division. That's how good the NL West is. A couple other teams here in the top 10 at 8, Milwaukee Brewers, 9, Oakland Athletics, who are 13 games above 500. And sitting at 10, just 4 games above 500, are the Toronto Blue Jays. New York Mets, 7 games above 500, 50-43. Right now, still winning games, Gavin. New York Mets are, I don't know how this still sustains, but they're finding a way to win some games. It's been pretty scrappy and ugly this last week, but they're getting it done.
Barely. They're getting it done barely, Zach. They don't have DeGrom. They don't have Francisco Lindor, which I don't think matters whether he was there or not. I mean, Zach, he was batting 125, the worst we ever seen in his career. But it's all relies on the offense. Zach, that offense wasn't the worst. Remember, they have Conforto. They have P. Alonso. They have a whole bunch of other guys that can string together, hit some runs. But it's the closers, the bullpens. Like, we talk about how bad our bullpen is. Have you seen Edwin Diaz? He's won 5 of the last 6 saves. I mean, it's been terrible. There was this one play where Edwin Diaz points up at as a pop-up and follows it. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I think the Phillies can catch him. I really do.
I think it's up to the Phillies. Like I told you before. And so at 12, the New York Yankees, 50-44. And at 13, and I'll read what it says here, 13. So the top half of the league, Philadelphia Phillies, 47-47. After giving up 4 runs and 2 homers to a makeshift Yankees lineup on Tuesday, Aaron Nola's ERA is up to 4.64 since May 9th. He is 3-5 with a 5.86 ERA and a 5.08 slugging percentage. Allowed over 12 starts. The Phillies will try and add a center fielder and some bullpen depth at the deadline. But if they're going to win the NL East, they will need Nola to pitch better. It's that simple. The guys who need to be good need to be good. And then you need to ask a little bit more from some of the other role players. I think they can get it done, make some moves. We have 9 days. We'll cover some of it live if anything breaking comes over during the 31st. But Gavin, no reason to not be buyers at the deadline for the Phillies. They have a chance. It's in reach, and they're in the top half of the league.
Zach, you could be buyers. You should be buyers. Always buy in. Zach, I was ecstatic when I found out that the Phillies were willing to go over the luxury tax for the first time in feels like in a decade, Zach. Be buyers. Go get some help. Aaron Nola, give us our money back. I mean, Zach, ever since we gave Aaron Nola his money, which was in 2018 around that time, right, has not been pretty good ever since. Hasn't. Everyone wants to give him a pass last year. I don't believe so because Zach, every time I watched Aaron Nola, he was always getting lit up or either had a 1-0 lead and lost, which is not his fault. The Phillies need more. Andrew McCutchen is looking well right now. You still need a center fielder. I don't disagree with that. Blueprint depth, as much as I like Alvarado and Bradley, that's not enough. Zach, when you're going to get into the playoffs and there's going to be games where you need to have a bullpen game. Remember the World Series where the Dodgers went, 2 innings with Bueller or somebody? And next it was a whole bunch of bullpen arms, and they still almost won that game. Bullpen arms are needed. That's what wins you a champion. That's what wins you a World Series. Look at the Nationals. Look at the Dodgers. They had great pitching. Look what the Tampa Bay Rays. As much as they didn't win it, but look how they got there.
Without a doubt. I will say this as well for the Phillies. Yeah, they got swept by the Yankees. The Yankees have been heating up. I will say this to finish off that note. It came down to the final at bat in both games. So if that says anything for the Phillies, at least, and of course yesterday extra innings. So Phillies put up a good fight against this team. I have no reason they have the easiest schedule now moving forward. They play the Braves starting tonight in a 4-game series. Not the best pitching matchups, but we'll see what the Phillies can do. We'll reevaluate them after the trade deadline, see where they stand. 14 Seattle Mariners, the Braves at 15, Reds at 16, who are 2 games above 500 right now. Indians at 17, Angels at 18 continue to move their way up. Of course, a couple of guys still hurt, but at some point they'll have to start winning games. Still 2 games below 500. Washington Nationals, who continue, despite the fact that Juan Soto is heating up, continue to slow down and lose games. They're 45 and 50. Cardinals at a flat 500. Cubs at 21 after their horrible skid that they've had in the last few weeks. Detroit Tigers at 22. Marlins at 23. Twins at 24. And then to round off the bottom 6, it was the Rockies at 25. Royals at 26. Rangers at 27. Pirates 28. Orioles 29. And, of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks sitting at 30 and 68 at rock bottom on the MLB power rankings. Gavin, some recaps, some thoughts from the power rankings. Anything stand out to you?
I actually did not know that the Reds were actually 2 games above 500. I really didn't know that. They have a great offense and guys like Eugenio Suarez and Nicholas Castellanos and Jesse Winker. It's a bullpen. I was watching the other night versus the Mets where Jesse Winker hits a double, ends up scoring, or ends up getting a run across. But the bullpen wasn't able to withstand. This is one of the solid pitching teams last year. But remember, they had a 3-headed monster in Bauer, Gray, and and Luis Castillo. Where did the other 2 go? I know Bauer left, but Sonny Gray's still there. Luis Castillo's still there. You still have Michael Lorenzen in the bullpen, and occasionally he could pitch starting position. It's like the Reds can turn it up. They're not going to be able to catch the Brewers because the Brewers have a nice little lead ahead of them, and they're playing great baseball. And the Brewers pitching and Woodruff and Corbin Burns and Hader and Williams and the crew is just phenomenal. But I wouldn't sell. If I'm the Reds, I would buy in and try to get somebody and make a run. Baseball is not about right now. It's longevity, and it's who's going to be the last man standing at the end of the season. That's what it is. And right now, the Reds are in the running for it. That's the only thing caught my mind.
And it's one game at a time. And now we'll shift gears. We'll talk about just the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, as I said, and I'm not too worried about these last 2 losses. Again, I'm worried about Aaron Nola, and hopefully he'll be able to hit his stride. But here's the bottom line. Here's when the season starts getting interesting. The Mets' next 10 games. Blue Jays, Braves, Reds. All teams that are pretty good. The Braves maybe not so much, but they can definitely split with them and put up a fight. The Phillies' next 10 games. Braves, Nationals, Pirates, and then they have a couple games against the Pirates, against the Nationals. And then the Phillies and the Mets meet August 6th for the first time. It's between now and then. There's a good chance that they are tied or within a game or so of each other going into that series. And there's your chance right there. The Phillies didn't have a tough stretch between the Dodgers and the Reds. They get some relief with the Diamondbacks. They go to San Diego for the Padres. The Rays back with the Diamondbacks, Nationals, Marlins, Brewers, and then you have the Rockies, Cubs, back with the Mets, and then Orioles, Pirates to end the season. So a lot of easy breaks in there for the Phillies. A lot of easy breaks. And that's why they're so high on the power rankings, because the Mets still have to go through a bunch of teams as well. They got the Dodgers, they got the Giants, they got the Dodgers again, the Giants again. So hear this, Gavin. I'll tell you this right now. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly for the next month, half month. August 10th, we're talking about. Phillies are going to make some moves. They're going to be maybe 2 or 3 games above 500, so they're going to keep their heads above water, and they're going to keep themselves within 3 to 5 games of the Mets. And then here's when it will get interesting. Between August 13th and August 26th, they go 3 games against the Dodgers, 3 games against the Giants, 3 games against the Dodgers, 3 games against the Giants. And it goes East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. So they're going to be tired, and they're playing a team much better than them. So again, just to reiterate that for anyone just tuning in, that's between August 13th, and that last game against the Giants is August 26th. The Phillies during that time, if we go back, we're going to start with August 13th. They play the Reds. They go Reds, 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 Diamondbacks 3 times, the Padres, the Rays, and then back to the Diamondbacks. There's your chance right there. And then you have the Rockies at some point, the Diamondbacks again. There's your chance. This schedule works out very favorable for the Phillies. Now, again, you're thinking of this current Phillies team, which is about a few game above 500 team. They need to improve, no doubt about it. But the schedule works in their favor. It's up to the front office to make the right moves. And it's up to Joe Girardi. It's up to the guys. They got to be able to go out there and put it all together. So that's where I stand on it. That's where I'm confident on it. Some bullpen help will be nice. Some reliable closers would certainly be nice. This team's close, and the schedule's in their favor. So that stretch here in mid-August is going to be crucial.
Which, I want to talk about the first 10. You get a 4-game set at home versus Atlanta. Zach, you know what I'm going to say. The majority. All right, it's a 4-game set, get 3. And if you don't get 3, split it. You can't be a loser. You cannot lose these series. But Zach, you talk about in the stretch of August. Let's talk about right now. You get Nationals, you get Braves, and you get the Pirates. It doesn't get any better than that, Zach. All those teams are struggling, and Preston, our good friend, if he was watching this right now, if he is watching this, your Pirates are going to get smacked, buddy. All right? I just want to let you know that personally. I'm personally telling you that right now. Zach, they should be able to claim first place after this week, after these next 10 games. That's just my personal opinion. That's my personal belief. I mean, the Braves don't have Acuna, and they're also injured, and they don't have Soroka and a few others. The Nationals, as hot as Juan Soto is, Max Scherzer is okay, but guess what? They're not winning as many games. Pirates, no one cares. But Zach, if you go think about just the Nationals and the Braves and Pirates, you should be able to get what? 9 wins out of those, and that's just taking them.
So.
And the Pirates is a sweep, and everything else is a majority win. 3 out of 4. There's your first place right there. And the Mets lose a couple because Zach, you know that's going to happen. There's your first place.
You go in San Fran, back to New York against LA, out to LA, back home against San Fran, and those are 1 day in between to get adjusted. There's no team can do that. That's brutal. That really is brutal for the Mets.
That's inhumane. Now think about it. That really is.
You start here. You're going, all right. You have a day to get behind 3 hours. Play the best team in baseball for 3 days. Come back home to play the second best team in baseball. Go back out there to play the best team in baseball. I'm sorry, the second best team. Then come home and play the best team again. It's a tough stretch. Phillies are right there.
It's like I can see the Mets losing 6 games out of their next stretch. I really do.
Out of those 12 games, they might lose 9. They might lose 9.
They should.
Which would be crazy.
What's the status of DeGrom right now? Do we know? Is he still out?
He's improving, but he's not yet off the list.
And if he's not there, which is ladies and gentlemen, that
if he's there, that's 3 or 4 wins on that trip. But
that's a 3 wins on that trip because it's what 3 starts in the whole
probably 3 at most 4.
3 or 4. Yeah. Look, there's first place right there, and that's before making any moves. I'm expecting a Byron Buxton trade, or Zach, as you said, Starlin Marte. Either one of those guys.
I like Starlin Marte. Of course, there's some closers you want to take a look at. So
I would look at Zach. I'm calling Miami or Minnesota for center field. I'm calling the Chicago Cubs for closer. I'm calling that.
The Cubs are going to be selling. The Marlins are going to be selling. So there's Starlin Marte right there. There's moves to be made. It's up to the Phillies organization to make those moves.
And
this current roster is good. It's maybe an 85 to 88 win team. It's not a 90 win team. It's not a 95 win team. But we could be getting up there if we get a legit closer. If you get a closer who can get the job done every other night, we're starting to have a conversation about almost 90 wins for this team, who's currently 47-47.
And Zach, that offer still stands. If the Phillies make plus, we are going to a game. We are going.
Yeah, you're buying me some wings, or I guess we even at that point.
Listen, Zach, we can go out to lunch next week. I'll buy you some wings. I'll treat.
Without a doubt. Look, this is the bottom line. I'm all in on the Phillies. I've been very adamant that at some point they have to break through. Again, it's not about how you start the year. Again, they started the year hot, and then they slowed down a lot. But they've maintained where they need to be. And you combine that with how the nature of baseball goes, you can go on a run late in the year. The Phillies, with the schedule, the way everything works out, could be that team. They are a candidate to do that and finish the season not only above 500 for the first time in 10 years as well.
It's like, don't get me started because you know I would do it.
I'm pulling it up now. I'm gonna figure it out. But see, 2013, so furthest back it goes, and it won't even load. That's how long it's been since the Phillies have been above 500. But not only can they be above 500, they can go to the playoffs. If they're good enough, they could possibly make a move. And if they can beat, all you gotta do is beat a wild card, beat a divisional leader. If they play the Brewers in a best of 5 series, you start talking about the NLCS. And then we know what the next step is after that. But we're not getting ahead of ourselves. They have to make the playoffs first. It starts with these moves, these breaks in the schedule, and you can't give in. You got to continue to get the job done.
One more thing too is when Zach, baseball it's not about how you start, it's how you finish for sure. I mean, remember the year the Nationals won the World Series? They started off awful, got hot in the summertime, got hot actually the best part in the summer, right around All-Star break, and won the World Series. Zach, as Phillies fans, you weren't really too excited about that because that was something that you didn't want to see. All you have to do is have one good month, especially in the summertime. You just need one good month where you win more than you lose.
And the team that you're going up against has one bad month, which is what we could be looking at.
And there's what? You need in a month. You need at least good 3 weeks. 3 weeks of a great winning, more winning than losing, and at least 3 weeks of them losing more than they're winning. Finally, Zach, I'm going to say this: if this Phillies team pulls off, because they had the chance to, Zach. This team was, and think about last year, if the Phillies don't blow as many games as they did last year, they were one of the best teams in baseball. And they blew, 20 out of 60 games, saves, I want to say, when you were up at 10 runs and then just give up. Teams were literally waiting. They would literally walk and make at-bats longer just to get to the bullpen. Once the bullpen came out, Zach, it was the Tuesday special. It felt like it was wing night at PJ's, where every table you saw was wings. Zach, guess what? As soon as the bullpen arc came in, everything that was in the air was a home run. That's what teams are waiting for last year, and they're doing it again this year. And you don't want to see it. Let's get right, Philadelphia. Let's change the narrative. Let's make teams fear the bullpen this year. Make teams pray that they can get against Aaron Nola. Make teams pray that Vince Velasquez forgets how to throw a nice curveball, whatever he throws. Everything he throws is down the middle. In my opinion, he doesn't. I mean, he could throw the Vulcan change and it'll be down the middle. I don't know. There's an opportunity for the Phillies to be great, but it relies on the willingness of the front office. That's what I have to give as much as I don't like this guy. I have to give Howard Rosen credit. He makes a move when it needs to be made a move. Not the best drafter, but when it comes to getting people here, remember Zach, Golden Tate, Jay Ajayi, different times. Darius Slay, he gets the job done. Daryl Moore this year brought in Seth Curry, and previously Elton Brand brought Jimmy Butler. There's teams that want to try to win, and there's a team in this city that just doesn't care because they're worried about money. Zach, it takes money to make money. It also takes money to win things. Think about it.
At this point, you depleted your farm system, so you have to use money. So just to go back to that fact we talked about a few minutes ago, the 2011 Philadelphia Phillies were 102-60. The 2012 Philadelphia Phillies, 81-81. So the last time the Phillies were above 500 to end the season, 2011.
Oh, it's like, here we go.
2013, they were 73-89. So yeah, we're staring down quite mediocrity. The Miami Marlins have been to the playoffs more than the Phillies have in the last 10 years.
Zach, it's been 9 years since you've been to the playoffs. A lot of things has changed, ladies and gentlemen. I'll do it again. I really don't care. It's like, you know what happened in 2011? I think, and my mom's in the comments section. I need her to fact check me. I think I went to Boston in 2011 or something around there. It's like I haven't been to Boston ever since. That's 10 years ago. The Celtics won the championship around that time. Or no, excuse me. The Lakers just won.
Lakers did.
The Lakers just won. The Lakers just won a championship.
LeBron James was just a member of the Miami Heat.
Just got there.
The beginning of number 6 LeBron James.
Beginning number 6 LeBron James in the Miami Heat. It's like the New York Knicks.
LeBron's been on 3 teams since the Phillies last made the playoffs.
It's like the New York Knicks were relevant, and I'm talking Melo, Amari Stoudemire, and J.R. Smith before the memes. Amon Shumpert. Like, ladies and gentlemen, just listen to those names. Listen to those names, and then think about the Philadelphia Phillies.
As we Ryan Howard ourselves why, but look, you know what? Bottom line before we wrap up today, and I'll let you have a chance to speak as well. It sounds like you have something good to say, but I'm going to postpone it now. The Phillies make a move, keep it going. Hopefully the Mets crash and burn. Gavin, over to you.
Ryan Howard was still healthy in 2011, Zach. He actually played majority games, more games than he missed. Zach, it actually was an uneven balance. He played more than missed more. It's crazy to think that Chase Utley was still here, and we all love Chase. And finally, it's like my last one was Tony Romo was the starting quarterback at the Dallas Cowboys in 2011. I mean, just to think about that. Like, now he commentates. I mean, and I still didn't like
Carson Wentz was in middle school.
Carson was in middle school.
Maybe just in high school.
I mean, was Jason Tatum in high school yet? I don't even think he was in college.
Kyrie Irving was in elementary school probably.
Exactly.
John Morant was in like 3rd grade.
And guess what? And now they're all stars, and the Phillies are. It's been 9 years, man. The Milwaukee Bucks has won a championship. The Milwaukee Bucks is winning. You know, this is all end all. Charles Barkley got a major guarantee right. He said the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win the NBA championship. Zach, they won. They won.
They broke the curse.
They broke the curse. They broke the Charles Barkley curse. And meanwhile, we can't break the mediocrity curse of just being Philly fans.
Quite interesting as we let out the Phillies' emotions. Look, bottom line, make a move, get it done. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. The Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions, and the Phillies have some work to do, but they can do it. They're in the position to make a move. I'm Zach Starr. That's Gavin Tony. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday edition of the More Than Philly Sports Network.
Fast and Furious, it wasn't at Fast 5 yet when that movie came. When the Phillies were good. I'm just letting you know. I think we were fast.
Everybody, have a great.
I'm not sure.
Great day.
Have a good one, everybody. I'm done.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos.